Morning, Sam. A long time no see. How's everything in your world?
Good morning. It's excellent. Back home here in the Louisville area, the weather's good. My grass is cut. I've had a night's sleep. I'm good.
I know I'm still exhausted myself from CBC, but it was definitely a great time. And I should have warned you before I said we were going live. When that little backdrop was up a minute ago, everybody could hear you talking to your little dog. So sometimes people say kind of interesting things off the air. I felt that was more entertaining what you said. So
Thanks.
that was a good start. So yeah, I mean, you and I, we served on a panel the other day at Woods Boss Brewing, kind of talk about, just data points, talk about the taproom experience, talk about just maximizing your revenue. So it was fun to get to know you out at CBC. But as a whole, how was your Denver experience?
It was solid. There was first of all, there was far fewer people there than in the past, which opened up access to a lot of things. That was wonderful. I don't feel like I bumped into anyone because we're out of space, which was wonderful. That was nice. The expo was far and away bigger and more expansive than I remember. So it was phenomenal to see all the new and cool things that we can get. And then some of the seminars were interesting, and it was really great to network and interact with some industry colleagues and friends. And I'm not gonna lie, it was nice to be out. And I saw Jimmy Buffett. Red Rocks.
How was that concert?
Phenomenal. First of all, that's my first time seeing Jimmy Buffett. I'm a fan, but it was my first time. And no better place to see him than at Red Rocks. The weather was gorgeous. It was breezy and cool. Everybody was happy. It was awesome. I would do it again.
So I know I keep hassling you about Jimmy Buffett, but I think it's fascinating because Jimmy Buffett has created such a massive following over his decades in the music industry. How do you think he's been able to create that experience? Because the experience he's created is something I'm sure you aim to do in each of your tap rooms.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think it comes down to having a good time. I mean, he wants to have a good time and share that good time with other people. And I got to be quite honest with you. That's the mission of my business, is to do great things and share the good times with the world. So I think if you can do that, then you can probably get a whole lot of people following you and behind you. And then ultimately the momentum just won't stop. So
no, I mean, he's got a strategy for, continual success.
I like it.
So before we dive into your past, for everyone who doesn't know you or Against the Grain, quickly, what do you do in the industry, Sam?
Well, I used to be the chief marketer of my company, but I've now hired a high quality, in my opinion, C-level employee who manages that. So my role has actually changed pretty dramatically in the last few months. I've gone from handling all things marketing to ultimately business development. I think it goes without saying the pandemic changed a lot of companies, and it had such a dramatic impact on our company. And we changed gears so much, not only to survive the tough times, but also to brace ourselves for maybe an unknown future. And in that, we had a role that kind of developed with myself and my other partner, where we are business developers. So ultimately, we're looking for opportunities within our community and without our community to develop businesses that would fall under the umbrella of Against the Grain and ultimately have a positive impact on the community, our employees, and the company as well.
And speaking of positive impact, you helped partner on an event Saturday night at CBC that had a positive impact. Can you talk about that for a second?
And how that was an event that was partnered with Positive Legacy, the Force for Positive Cause. It was phenomenal. We us and several other breweries, we sent some beer out and helped book a couple bands to play for people. Most notably, we got to hear Jacob Knoll, Bradley Knoll's son. Bradley Knoll was the lead singer of Sublime. He passed away, probably 25 years ago. The benefit from this, or the benefactor from the event, was the Knoll Foundation, and ultimately they deal with substance abuse issues within the music community. So I feel like that's a great cause. The world needs music, and we need musicians to be healthy and happy and whole. And what better way to support them with what we do. And it works with it aligns with our mission as well. So
yeah, absolutely. Once again, another music connection there. And when I was growing up, Sublime was definitely one of my favorite bands in middle school. Whether they were appropriate listening material at that time, I don't know, but I really enjoyed them. So, like, when you were growing up, though, did you envision a career in the music industry and the brewing industry? What did you think you were going to be when you grew up? If I were to ask you as a kid.
Oh God, as a little kid, I wanted to be an astronaut. I'm not going to lie. I come from a town that produced 3 astronauts, and it was a big deal. So I'm kind of disappointed in where I landed.
So where did you grow up, Sam? I know you're, you operate in Kentucky, you live in Indiana, but where did you grow up?
I grew up in southern Indiana in a little town called Mitchell, and Mitchell is known, it's the astronaut town. It's known for producing astronauts, most notably Gus Grissom, who was one of the Wrights. It was pretty amazing growing up around that because it always had us, like the kids in my neighborhood and my school, we always had very high aspirations. I know that's kind of cliche considering he was an astronaut, but it really was a driving thing for us. Because the town was small and there wasn't a lot of industry and it was fairly poor, to have somebody who achieved that level was great for us. So I kind of took that along in life. Now I've made some missteps and tripped and fall and stood back up. But at the end of the day, what I realized was I need to be happy and I need to be the master of my own destiny. And so opening a business was natural for me. As far as the beer side of it, probably not the healthiest thing, but I enjoyed beer as a teenage kid, and I was a home brewer as a teenage kid. So I took that hobby and turned it into a job after college, after I realized I don't like working for people.
What did you go to college for? Because obviously you had dreams of an astronaut. It sounds like you didn't go to space camp. You didn't start working for NASA. So what did you do?
I went to Indiana University for political science. And the only reason I did that was because somebody said, "Boy, you sure like to talk. You ought to give
Sam, you don't like to talk at all."
So I gave it a try, and it was good. I really enjoyed the field of study, but there really aren't a lot of jobs for bachelor's level political scientists.
So what did you do? I mean, did you jump directly into the beer world in some capacity? Or did you have any positions that you kind of
I kicked around and I just wanted to get out of like the familiar world that I was in. So I moved directly after college straight down to Louisville and found the first job in the newspaper that I could get. Well, actually, it wasn't a newspaper. It was a guy I had met said, "Hey, if you come work for this hospital, I get $500. I'll give you half of it." So I got half the referral bonus. I was like, okay, cool. So I did. I met the guy in a bar. I did that, and I worked as a mental health tech in a psych hospital for a few years. And I always gravitate towards managerial roles. During that time, it was about 7 years total. I worked my way into a position where I was managing hospital units, and I was also a certified drug and alcohol counselor. How ironic. It was a natural pay bump, so I did it. But I realized very much that I did not enjoy working in that environment, nor do I like working for people. So I kind of took to my hobby and went to the local brewery, the brewpub called Bluegrass Brewing Company, and asked for a job sweeping the floor.
And were you, I guess, actively homebrewing at that time?
Yeah. I've always been a home brewer. So the brewmaster at the time, his name was Jerry Nagy. He said, "Sure, come along. I'm looking for somebody to clean kegs," and he hired me. Well, we worked together for a few years at that capacity, and then I took a job with him as the assistant brewer, and then ultimately they became a brewpub group, and I became the head brewer of one of the breweries. All the while, Jerry and I were very successful teammates, and then ultimately we met a couple of our other business partners there, and he and I and 2 other guys launched Against the Grain. So it was kind of serious. Well? Yeah. Jerry's now my business partner of 10 years.
So when you kind of got in the beer world, had you thought about opening your own business prior in any other industry, or had you had any entrepreneurial experiences?
No, 'cause I had zero. Other than just the mentality, I guess I had no experience. I always wanted to have my own brewery, and I still have a notebook where I'd written down notes, and I've read every book at that point. I think one of the most inspiring books to me was Sam Calgione's Brewing Up a Business. I just thought, what a phenomenal story and a wonderful way to look at doing this. So I really enjoyed that, and I kind of set the stage, I guess, just to meet the right people. And then once I felt like I was surrounded by the right team, so to speak, then I took it really serious at that point. At that point, I knew we could do this.
I think it's almost cliche to say, but every home brewer has that light bulb moment where they're like, I want to open a brewery, and most of them don't do it. What do you think sets apart those who actually pursue their dream versus the home brewers who, have that initial thought?
You've got to have a stomach of steel, because there are a lot of things that are hard to swallow and deal with. For me, I came into it, I had, only a little limited amount of cash that I had saved. Other than that, no resources. Don't come from wealth or anything like that. And it's a very expensive endeavor. So I felt like I had nothing to lose. I thought, what have I got to lose? I'll give it a try. At worst, my credit is bad, then I can fix that, over time. So I really think that it's that at all costs, and what have I got to lose, that kind of mentality. Aside from that, I would recommend that people have some good banks. You gotta have a good bank.
So when you and Jerry and your other partners had this idea to open up your own brewery, you also added food to it as well. But how long did it take from that initial idea to opening your doors?
I apologize for the dog. He's probably sees the mailman. Initially, we started the LLC about 10 months in advance, 10 months before we took off, So that at that point, it was all up in the ether, the 10-month mark. But we started the LLC. It was a $50 fee to do. So what we got to lose?
Sure.
We started creating a business plan and looking at real estate, and the crunch came because our previous employer wanted to let us go. He felt like we were betraying him. So the clock started the moment Adam, my business partner, was let go. From that point, it was 10 months and we were open. So, wow. Yeah, less than 2 years, but approximately 10 months of real work. Rocco, stop it.
That's extremely impressive how quickly that happened. Now, with that location, that was based in a baseball field, correct?
Right. It was actually it was a fumbling brewery that had run its course, so to speak. The owner was not a beer guy. I don't think he had a real brewer at the time that was qualified to run the system. And it just seemed like he wanted to get out. And it was a very serendipitous moment to walk in and see something that was gasping for breath and to say, we can save this place. So we contacted him and asked him if he would be interested to sell the equipment. He countered with, why don't you make an offer to buy my business? And it worked out so well because he just wanted to cover his debt. So we got a very, very nice, I won't say turnkey because we had to put some money into it. But we got nearly a turnkey operation in a major baseball stadium. It's AAA for far less than we should have. And that certainly was what propelled us into success.
That's fantastic. I mean, when you operate in a baseball stadium, you have a built-in audience of thousands and thousands of people.
That's right.
Who come regularly. Was the location open, I imagine, even when season wasn't going? Yes,
and it still is. We're open 360 days a year. We take off holidays and we have a few parties. That's a little less than 360. But yeah, we realized very quickly that the baseball was, baseball season is one side of the business. We have two doors, one that faces Main Street and one that faces the concourse. Well, that baseball season is a stream chock full of fish that all we have to do is open the doors. That's it. They come in. So we realized that there should be no efforts put towards marketing that direction. that we need to put our resources towards marketing towards Main Street. And when I say Main Street, first it's our family and our community, and that would be, in my opinion, beer nerds and beer enthusiasts and people who enjoyed barbecue, because that was also a part of our concept as well. But then also to educate our community, because Louisville was not a thriving brewery town. We really needed to create the market, and we did. We decided that we were going to kind of set the stage for what Louisville beer should be, and we really drove towards that. It was, barrel-aged beers. We wanted to also a sense of pride for the city, so we entered every event we could. We started exporting to different countries so that people would see it out in the world. It became something that made sense. Let's build the community so that it would lift our ship,
I want to go back to, you mentioned like the twofold marketing approach you had. You mentioned that, for the audience already in the stadium, you didn't have to do too much work, but you kind of focused your efforts on the beer nerds outside the stadium. But
That's
looking
correct.
at the stadium, how was your partnership at Louisville Slugger Field? How did that help you grow your audience? Were you seeing that those guests who came to the baseball games, who were your typical big beer drinker, were you able to win them over and kind of share the love for craft?
Actually, at first the team and who is our landlord, and also the baseball stadium attendee, they were aggravated with us because we wouldn't brew a light American lager or have on domestics. And I can't count the times I was told, you guys are never going to make it if you don't do these things. However, in time, I think they came to appreciate us because of the quality of work we were doing, and also giving them an opportunity to get something different. Inside of the baseball stadium at that time, Anheuser-Busch locked it down. They owned every handle, every place you could have a poster. There was no opportunity for the consumer inside the stadium to experience craft beer. Once they found out that we were doing good stuff and the food was good and the service was impeccable, then the community the consumer that's coming through realized, hey, this is a great treat to have. We can have our 16 10-ounce water beers in there, and then we can go grab a good one, or they can grab a good one and then go in. So it really worked out well, and it continues to work out very well.
Fantastic. Now, did you learn anything from the sports experience that you took away to your breweries?
No. No. Actually, yes. I learned that they are lucky to be attached to a world-class brewery. The stadium is. And it was a hard pill for the team ownership to swallow, but I think they came to realize that we were an asset. Now, the team has changed hands a few times, and it's again, I start to see this where they maybe take for granted or don't realize the value of the square footage that we've locked up and made work and successful. So, it's interesting to me. What I learn is a lot of people still don't understand how valuable craft beer is to the community, but also how it can affect their business in such a way that's good. We obviously feel the effects of their business, and I'm happy to say 10,000 people walking past my door on any given day is wonderful. I appreciate baseball, but I'm not quite sure all of these teams around the nation, and certainly ours at any given moment, really truly understand the value of having such a community-focused business involved with their day-to-day.
That's really interesting insight there. So would you recommend other brewers consider locations in sports stadiums like yourself? Or
Absolutely. Yeah, it's the battles we fight, or the how about this is a better analogy. The roads that we travel down will often have hills and bumps and detours and things, and we just have to be prepared to deal with them as business people. But ultimately, at the end of the day, we have an obligation to our industry and to our industry colleagues and everyone to help educate the consumer and make sure they understand the value that we have. And if it is an uphill battle in a sports stadium, there are certainly benefits that come with that, but also there's responsibility. And we've got to make sure that they know how important craft beer is, and the craft beer community and ethos of what we do. So absolutely, I would recommend doing it. Just buckle up and make sure you save money, because you you need a lot.
Yeah, indeed. I mean, I think it's a great opportunity, like you mentioned, to get seen by 10,000 people and just introduce yourself to people who might not have had that craft experience otherwise.
Yeah.
Now, another avenue you've dove into, and you also operate food at all your locations as well, for the
Yeah.
most part. You've gotten really involved in the music world. Besides going to Jimmy Buffett concerts, you've kind of also expanded your business into, venues. Can you talk a little bit about like how that came to be?
Yeah, well, so over the course of the last 7 or 8 years, we have been, just by, I guess, by the nature of my partners and I's, like our personalities, we're drawn to the music industry and folks that work in it. So we put on a live concert series a number of summers that was free, and we supported the local artists, the local musicians. To me, it's always important to give an artist or a musician a stage worthy of the work that they do, and so we became known around town as the guys that would let a local band get a real life, like, we're going to put you on a stage with a sound engineer and a light show and everything, and put on, like, let's see how you really do, and they come to like it. Well, for us, that was such a great success that we thought, well, maybe we should look at music venues. And then, we started looking at the data on where our beer sells, and we actually have such phenomenal sales in pre-existing venues in the Louisville area.
How did you find that data? That's fascinating.
VIP. VIP is a great thing. When your top account in the local vicinity is a music venue, this makes sense. So we went that direction, and there were some opportunities to pick up some venues that had struggled due to the pandemic, and we picked them up and are operating them, and they're going very, very, very well. But I think it's something also along the lines of, the music industry is very much like the brewing industry. There's a lot of really amazing people in there, and we just naturally vibe and fit with them. So it's something that I can't see us stopping. I only see us growing.
So you're making beer, you're selling food, you're putting out great music. It's almost 3 different business models right there. On the music side of things, are you booking and running everything in-house, or do you have a partner that you work with who helps produce all the events?
We currently, we don't have any one single partner at the moment. I have a talent buyer that we have employed that runs that end of both of our spots, and he works with a lot of his friends who are booking agents in the region. So currently we're in that spot. We are potentially looking at a partnership with some larger firms, but I don't know that we'll pursue that. I don't want to discount my local guys. I think they're wonderful, and again, if we have a stage that's worthy of the art that they do, I think that people will see, wow, that we've got some amazing stuff around. So I see us with some big acts, but I also see us doing a lot of good stuff with the local guys.
No, that's fascinating. And looking at the music side of things, if you could book any band at your venues that would actually fit in that venue, who would you have play?
Oh man. Well, the big one that we have is probably set for people in the twilight of their career or they're coming up. Personally, I was a big fan of Dave Matthews. I'd love to see Dave Matthews in one of our spots, but I doubt that'll ever happen. He's still pretty big. He packs out arenas.
Yeah, I think it could be a little while on that one.
Yeah. I also like metal. I mean, I can get down with metal and country music. So, I guess more than anything, what I would want is somebody who would appreciate the moment, and that all of the people that we can get in there would appreciate them. I want, it's not so much who the dream artist is, but that the space becomes not, we'll say, famous, or, I want it to be a timeless space to play music in. So that's kind of how I look at this, is I want to create those timeless experiences.
No, the timeless experience is absolutely beautiful, because craft beer is all about experience. Just kind of looking at your career so far, as we wind this down, what's something you didn't expect to experience as a brewery owner that you've learned from?
Gosh, I never expected to see the world the way I have. I've been fortunate to work with brewers all over the globe, in collaboration or in a visit, and to get to know all of these people from different cultures and all of that has really impacted my life and my worldview. I think I see things different than a lot of people because of the experiences I have. So I never expected to have that, and I think it has enriched me in such a way that I have 3 children. With my 3 children, I feel comfortable and confident telling them things that maybe are contrary to maybe a lot of other people's rational thoughts. I say it's okay to not want to go to college if you don't. It's okay to want to pursue this art or sport or whatever, just whatever, but don't ever limit yourself, because it's a big world. It's a great big world, and you have only a finite opportunity to experience it all. So try to make sure you do.
And absolutely. And for you, do you see yourself running this company forever, or are there other things you want to achieve in life?
I actually don't see myself in that position. I think we are approaching a time in the next 10 years or so, and I'm sure we'll be around. We're very secure. We will approach a time when it eclipses my ability, and I have a number of employees that I'm responsible to, and to make sure that we provide not only a future for them, and then also the ones that will come along. So as I age and my abilities maybe aren't as good enough for the company, maybe somebody comes along and does that. And I'm fortunate, though, I share the responsibility with 3 other guys. They're my business partners, and we've had this conversation multiple times. We're constantly looking in that direction. The big question a lot of people don't like to ask is, would you sell it? It depends on what part it is and where I'm at in my life, honestly. I don't think it's a dirty word or a dirty thing to do to sell, but there has to be some understanding that it will affect the employees and the team that have helped drive the ship. So I think, maybe some parts of it. That's why there's a sandwich shop and a venue and real estate, and that's why we have those things. But for right now, I like what I do. It's pretty cool.
We have to love what we do. We get to interact with so many great people in this industry. And I'm excited to follow where you go the next decade, because it's obvious you're super passionate about providing and helping those you interact with. And I'm sure it's going to be exciting next steps in your life for you, wherever you end up.
Absolutely.
And Sam, it was fun seeing you the other day in Denver. It was fun seeing you again today. I'm looking forward to having another beer whenever that may be soon, hopefully before. So good luck with all the new projects, and I'll talk to you soon. Thanks again for hanging out.
All right. Thanks, Andrew.
Hey, cheers.
See y'all.
Bye.
Bye.